What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Next Level Teaching. I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson, here with my super dope co-hostess with the mostest, Miss Tori Rodriguez, a.k.a. T-Rod. What's up?
Hey, Jay. How are you? Feeling? I'm good.
Good. I got the hostess with the mostest.
You know.
I got tongue-tied.
You just got to, say it again and again and
I'm
again.
I'm excited, though.
You know. I know. You excited to be with me again. I know that's what it is.
I'm excited.
I was going to say, I think it's more about Rachel.
Yeah. Well,
hey. Because I heard that they go back, way back.
My people.
And I'm really excited because you know I love to get the dirt on Jeremy.
Stop it.
It's my favorite.
It's not about me today. It's about our guest.
I know. And I'm so excited to learn more about Rachel. But before we hop in, why don't you let everyone know who we are here at Next Level Teaching Podcast?
And listen closely. We want you to laugh, learn, and live your best life. It's simple. But you're going to laugh today. You're going to learn something new, and you're going to apply this, and you're going to live your best life. Yeah. And so me and Tori, we come here. We want to add as much value to you amazing educators and help you go from one level to the next level. So today, it's going to be really good.
Yeah. And if you guys are enjoying what you hear, don't forget to rate us. Leave us a review. We would love a 5-star rating.
Okay.
And I know that today is going to be 5 stars right off the bat.
Well, we got to talk about that.
Oh, what?
Can we, before you even give the bio intro, can we just talk about that?
Yeah.
Well, so look, the other Saturday, let's just take some time and just talk to the people. So a week ago, Saturday night, Tracy, Ryan didn't tell you about our Google ratings. Oh, you would have been hot. So Tracy says somebody wrote a bad review about you. And I said, shut the mother-loving front door. You got to be kidding me. But then my first thought was like, you know what? I mean, out of 1 million people that love me, there's going to be some people that might not fool with me. Let me tell you something. She was like, actually, 5 people wrote a review.
What?
My heart stopped.
Why?
Like, they went to Google and did a Google review. So, we've got our professional development package. Yeah. So for schools, because of COVID, I can't travel like I used to. So I did 5 pre-recorded professional developments. One on implicit bias, diversity, equity, inclusion, school culture, conquering COVID, and something else. School climate? No, school climate. Yeah. So I have all those set. And so schools order them in bulk, and then we're doing like a 50% sale. But one school had their teachers do a PD on Saturday.
That's not your fault.
Right. But obviously...
Oh, please, that's not your fault.
Right.
That is their fault. And also, they should have said N-O. Because last time when we had a conversation with Mr. Shivy, we said... that you have to learn that your time is your time and you can say no. Right. I saw something that said this month is November. Learn to say no.
That part.
That part.
November. Can you come here? This is the month of November. No, literally.
Truly, though. Yeah. If you are not okay with it, then say no and don't blame something on someone else for what someone else did to you. You know what I mean? You can't sit here and blame the Jeremy Anderson group for a professional development on Saturday when it's your county, your administrators that asked you to do it on a Saturday when it's not your contract hours. So unless you're getting paid $32.50 an hour to make it up, then N-O November.
Right.
Have
well, they
mercy.
took it O-U-T on me.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? And all 5 of them
November.
wrote the review at the same time. And so one of the reviews just gave 1 star. But a few of the reviews, one person was just like, I feel unmotivated. And what I'm wondering is maybe the principal was like, oh, this guy's an amazing motivational speaker. He has training. So they thought, but they ain't bring me in to motivate you.
Yeah.
They brought me in to train you. Right. And then a lot of the schools that's been ordering our diversity, equity, inclusion, and implicit bias, a lot of those districts, the staff don't necessarily look like me.
Okay.
So I imagine some of them was probably in their feelings.
Right.
They were uncomfortable.
What you about to tell me?
And I done broke this down, and it's on a Saturday. And so it was weird. And so Ebony, Ebony's very defensive. I don't know if you met Ebony. She my manager / assistant. She handles stuff with me and Tracy. She get it done.
She's amazing.
Right. So Ebony did some research and found out that this group of people have also been writing other bad reviews for other professional development speakers.
So this week at my school, we did advisement in math. We, the math teachers at my school did advisement. And it was for us on respect. That was what we talked about.
Right.
And the one thing that my students kept saying over and over and over again is if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all.
Right.
And I think that that's so true. And I think that we talked a lot about social media and how as a society we're struggling to be respectful on social media and on the internet because it's easier to be hateful or rude or disrespectful to someone's face than it is online. It's a lot easier to be disrespectful
Keyboard
online.
warriors.
Yeah. And so I think what we're trying to get at here, guys, is we hope that you're getting what you want out of this, but if not, please let us know what you do want to hear from us, what you would like. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I have some days where I could be negative Nancy.
Right, but you're not writing a review.
Yes.
You're not taking it out on the person. I feel like it was a big three. You was mad because you had to do a PD on Saturday, right? I was probably telling you something that you didn't want to hear, but the fact that these same 5 people have also written other reviews, so it's like they like a clique. They like trolls. So anybody that does a professional development, they write negative reviews. And so that made me feel better because, we pride ourselves.
Yeah.
The Jeremy Anderson group, like, yo, we want to add value.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every time I take the stage, people is crying.
Yeah.
I done missed flights because people are surrounding me afterwards saying how I touch their hearts. So I know I'm not a lame. I know I'm not out of touch.
Yeah.
But it did hurt.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so what I did was I reached out to some people, some educators who are familiar with our brand, and they went and wrote some positive. Because I never really asked people to write reviews in our company. I just got my head down doing the work. So I only had like 3 reviews, and they were all 5 stars.
Yeah.
But when these 5 people gave me 1 star, that put me at like a 2.7. So anyway, to our listeners, we about to get into our show, right? But to our listeners, if you typed in the Jeremy Anderson group and you left us a good review, that'd be amazing. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate that, But it's a lesson learned, like somebody always not going to be happy.
Yeah.
You do the absolute best you can and you live with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a people pleaser. I'm still trying to get over that. So it really hurt. Like, man, like really? But then when I looked at everything, I was like, nah.
Well, and from someone that has been in a professional development where I felt like, what am I getting from this? How is this applying to me? It was all about reading and literacy. And I'm a math teacher. And I'm like, okay, so we annotate, yes, and we do word problems. And I mean, Ryan Manning was at this with me. He knows that this was something that I just kept asking, okay, so how does this apply to math? I just kept raising my hand and asking, and I didn't go and write a negative review, but I think that by me asking enough questions and letting them know, look, this is something, so if you're unhappy with the content that you're getting from anything, instead of just coming with a negative review, come with, this is what I would have liked to see. This is somewhere that could be improved. Because that, to me, I mean, that's what my administration always says. Instead of coming and saying, this is the problem, come with a solution.
Yeah, and that's a healthy perspective.
Yeah.
Like, you healthy in the spirit. For these 5 people, they like a pack.
Yeah.
So I completely... even ignore it. Like, to me, they invisible. The very next Monday, I did a PD. And God, no, I'm not lying. The principal was like, can the church say amen? He was like, I told y'all, if Mr. Anderson starts a church, I'm going to be the first one to join. That's exactly how my man sound. I was dying laughing. And I just felt like that was God saying, come on, bro. Like, you know what it is. They was just being... negative. But anyway, that was just kind of let y'all know what's going on in our world, and I would feel a little warm inside if y'all left us a review on Google and on iTunes. Yeah, show us some love.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our guest.
So let's talk about Miss Rachel. Okay, so Rachel Rogers, you've been working in education for 25 years.
Oh, she an OG in the game.
And she don't look like it, that's for sure.
Right. Look like about 25.
Well, thank you.
Your student be flirting with you?
You know, they
know.
I draw the line, though. They know what's up. They know what's up.
That is why I'm not in high school right there.
Listen,
you
know.
said, God bless you to me for teaching middle school, but let me tell you, that's how I feel because I am too close to their age still.
But I'm sure they're still peeping you out in middle school now.
Yeah, they are. Believe me.
It starts early.
I had crushes.
And that's when I come down hard with the hammer and let them know.
Elementary, middle school, high school, I had crushes for specific teachers. So I know they be like, hey, Miss Rodriguez. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, the biggest eye roll.
Yes.
Right, so you started your first 21 years as a high school science teacher.
High school science teacher, yes. I taught anatomy, biology, environmental.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, bless you. And now you are an AVID coordinator and elective teacher. And let me make sure I get this right. For those of you that don't know, because I had to ask, AVID is the advancement via individual determination.
That is correct.
And so you said it's like a career starter, college and career readiness?
Well, it's a college and career readiness system. So although I have students in a class who I kind of prepare them for the rigors of higher level classes, it's also school-wide implementation so that the students, there's a focus, there's a college-going, career-going focus so that the students are not just there, but yet they're actually thriving and striving towards whatever it is they want to be.
I've spoken for a few AVID conferences as well.
Okay.
Yes. AVID's been around for about 40 years. It started in California by a teacher who was like, they were rerouting and redistricting students.
Yeah.
And some teachers left because they were like, I don't want the bad kids.
Yeah.
This teacher stayed and said, no, they're smart. They just need opportunity. So they're for kids that are in the middle of the road, but they just need that support and exposure. So I take them on college trips. I expose them to speakers. We do all types of activities. Relational capacity is big, so they feel like we're a family.
Okay. So I have a quick question about that. Because to me, I feel like we are so college heavy, but let's be honest, not every kid is wanting to go to college.
Correct.
That's not their path, and that's okay. I mean, let's be honest, there are welders out there who make more money than I do.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
And they have to go to a different type of school, but it's not like
four-year
college.
It's important that you say that because notice it's college and career.
Yes. So I wanted to see how much you hit on that career side.
We do, because the same skill sets that you could be successful in college, you can be successful in a career. Right. So I have, whether it be a doctor, a lawyer that's coming to speak to my students, to a barber who has his own business, or we have military people that come and speak to our students, respiratory therapy, just different in all walks of life. We want to show them you have options, and not just the options that you always hear about. And that's how we pull that career part into it. And we have the teachers. Every teacher has a college corner or a career corner so that the students can track the path. Like, not everyone starts off being a teacher.
Right.
You know, they could have done some different things. But getting that conversation going, because I think a lot of times people take it for granted that the kids know. And they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So my job is to expose them to that.
Yeah, and I love it because AVID is on the, it's needed because some kids without those special programs, they like, I'm good. So this is another way that we combat the dropout and them not living to their full potential. And that's on the front end, but then on the back end, you have programs like the TRIO program.
Right.
That's in a lot of colleges. And TRIO program is like, okay, so we're going to take all the first generation college students, you know what I'm saying, whose parents never went, those that come from, you know what I'm saying, low financial backgrounds, and those who struggle, just period, minorities, and we're going to, because most universities look at the data and say, okay, we're losing 80% of our kids that are first generation, that come from low socioeconomic backgrounds, so we'll have a TRIO program or a program like that to help guide them throughout it.
That's interesting you say that because that's part of AVID's criteria.
Right.
Low socioeconomic, they look for traditionally underrepresented students, and so it's from elementary. Even there are colleges, there are about 30 colleges that have AVID on the college setting.
That's amazing.
It's really, really amazing.
And so those are the events that they brought me in on.
Okay.
It's because I'll be Wayne Technical College or whatever university, and then they'll have all their students bust in to hear me speak.
Awesome.
So half the university that I speak for, it's not even for the university students.
It's
half of them was for the college students that they're the high school students
that they partner with. Awesome.
That's dope.
And coming from growing up in a county where it was just kind of expected that everyone went to college. Like that's the kind of district that I personally grew up in. You know, where you take AP classes and you're dual enrolled and things like that. I didn't know until way after I graduated that we even had a high school that had classes for construction, welding, nursing, even early childhood education, all of these things. And I'm like, where was I for this?
Right.
Why did I not know about this? Because this is amazing.
Right.
And so eventually I had the honor of taking some of my students to that school.
Right.
And for my students, a lot of them fit exactly into, that little population that you were talking about. And it was so amazing for them to see, okay, so maybe college isn't my thing, and that's okay.
Right. I'm so glad you said that, because as educators, it almost seems like, oh my goodness, did this teacher just say, I don't have to go to college?
Yes.
Yes, you don't have to go to college because college isn't for everyone. However, what is your passion?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? What is it that fulfills you?
Yeah.
That's powerful that they do that.
There is a culture with a lot of the millennial and progressive entrepreneurs where they're like bashing college. And I put up a post on Instagram. I was like, yo, you got to stop doing that. Like, we got to be balanced, right? Because I'm like, truth be told, half your entrepreneurs saying, forget college. Like, you got your business partner because you met him at college. You met your wife at college. You got your business idea when you was at college. Some of y'all went to college, finished college, got a degree, then started your own company. So let's not act like it didn't give you that opportunity. But then I said, but then there are some people that don't need it, depending on what area they're going to go in, what field, what expertise. Why go in $100,000 worth of debt to make a fraction of that? And that's not even your purpose. And so I'm here for all of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a conversation we should have more often. And I know I was at school one time and I was telling these kids, I was like, yo, whether you do the military, whether you go to trade school, whether you open up your own business, and then somebody, a principal or one of the teachers was like, I think she was like an AP. She's like, I really wish that you would have stressed the importance of college more often. And I don't want to lie. I don't remember what I said, but I was trying my best not to, you know what I'm saying? Not to clap back.
Right.
And I was just, I know I said something on the lines of, look, it's not for everybody.
Yeah. That's
right.
I just want to make sure they're not playing PlayStation when they graduate all day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, and do you feel like you learned more from education, like to be a teacher in college or in the field?
In the field.
And so I think that right there, to me, though, is part of the issue as well, is that we want students to go to college and we end up in this massive debt and can't pay it off. But yet, really, I didn't learn nearly as much. You can't learn the classroom management, even as a student teacher. The parent communication. Isn't that most of teaching? If you can manage a class, if you have classroom management and communication skills, you can teach anything.
And connect with some of the most goofy, hyperactive kids. But that's what they bring me in for.
Soft skills. Right. But, I feel like when you think about it, many times, so, of course, some people say, oh, college is for me. I definitely want to do that. That's how I'm going to get my education. But there's traditional and non-traditional.
Yeah.
You can have an education without going to college. However, you have to have, intrinsically, you have to be motivated to do that work. I had a guy right here out of Atlanta, Alexander John Design. He does shoes for all the famous, you might even know him. But he came and spoke to my kids. He's never been to college.
Wow.
And he works with Reebok, Puma. He's
and
done
Nipsey
stuff for
Jay-Z,
Jay-Z.
Nipsey, Nas, they all wear his stuff.
All kinds of people. And when he talked to my kids, he says, I did the work.
Yeah.
He says, I sat down, I did the research. So he still got the education. He just got it in a non-traditional sense. Right. So when I talk to my students and I say, if you're not going to college, what is your plan?
Right.
How are you going to go about doing that? Right. Because college just kind of gives you a path. Here's your bulletin. Yeah. Here are the classes you take. If you stay on track, you're going to be finished and you should, although low-key, you paying some money. And you're going to pay even more money once interest continues to accrue. So at the end of the day, I think it's about education, whether it's traditional, non-traditional, tapping into what do you really want to do so that you're not wasting your time.
Yeah.
Man, one of my homeboys told me that the biggest liability is a lack of knowledge. My man said the average adult, their biggest liability is the lack of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? What you don't know. It can really be what sets you back. So, that's it.
Can I piggyback off of that?
Yeah.
The next biggest liability is the lack of application of knowledge.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's the next liability.
Ryan, we got to find one of those rewind buttons.
Yes.
What?
You can have all the knowledge in the world.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of students. I had a student in my class. He got an A on every test, but never turned in anything. He ended up with a 70 in the class, and he felt proud of himself as if he did something.
Yes.
Oh, I read plenty of books. I don't have to do this. Okay, give me that test. I'll knock it out. However, he never applied himself.
Yeah.
I went to this one group setting. It was called a church. and I realized folks be knowing they word in and out, but they ain't got that spirit in them.
Come on now.
They struggle applying.
The
They think that
application.
they
And that's what
all their
James
lives.
says. James talks about, in the book of James, he talks about you may have that knowledge and look in the mirror and see that, but the second you turn away, if you don't recognize that, if you're not carrying that with
That's
you,
right.
then you, like, what have you learned? You've learned nothing.
Yep.
That's
truly.
right.
Yep. No, you
That's
keep
where
that
wisdom
relevance.
comes in.
Yes.
Wisdom
Apply.
teaches you how to apply that knowledge.
Yes.
And you could know all you want.
Yep.
But if you
you're
don't
not
have that
applying
wisdom,
it, yep.
if you're not applying it.
No, so I'm thinking of all the I'm thinking of those 5 teachers that listened to that PD. You should have applied it with your hating self.
Right. And as you were talking about that, I'm like, perspective is everything.
Yeah.
Right.
If you have, millions of people that are being touched and reached and they just love what you're doing. Those 5, I mean, let's just focus on the million.
It's the same thing as a teacher. Let's
That's
be
right.
honest. You're going to have kids or parents every single year that are going to struggle with you.
That's
Oh,
right.
You're going to
Drive you
clash
crazy.
with them.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I was that one. You can't save them all.
Yeah.
You do the best you can.
And there are people that walk around with pens, like they just want to bust your bubble. Like, wait a minute, you blowing up too much. Let me pop it. Let me throw a monkey wrench in this.
Yeah.
But once you have that perspective, you're like, you know what? I'm like you. I'm a people. I've learned. I didn't think I was a people pleaser, but I've learned people with certain personalities. You want people to be pleased with you, pleased with what you do. But what I've learned is, at the end of the day, am I making an impact?
Yeah.
Am I affecting lives? Or am I going to focus on the ones who are just trying to throw me off my track?
Yeah.
And you got to be healthy.
That's right.
Mentally and emotionally. I once heard the quote. It says that if you live for their acceptance, you'll die from their rejection. So if you live for their acceptance, then you'll die from their rejection. So I try to take it all in stride. But I did have that moment.
Definitely.
Where I was just like, man, was it that bad? But then I realized, like, son, wait a second. Ryan had been in education 14 years. He helped me structure a lot of the professional development.
Yes.
I'm like, our whole team, like, we serious about adding value.
Yeah.
Our whole team did research to make sure I gave the best stats, the best information.
Right.
That's why I was like, yeah, no. But to our listeners, when you get that review, right? When your administrator comes in and says you got to make some changes, when those parents say, "What if you could just talk to my kid differently?" There are those times where it's just
You
like,
have to check your heart.
You want to buck,
Definitely.
but you got to check your heart. And my first thing, before it was my pride, I was like, man, these people done trusted me. But then I realized, like, wait a second. Nah, that thing was nice. And we still had people that was going to lock in with it. But it was a blessing in disguise, because now I got a lot of people writing reviews. So now, because I know how that could benefit the company. But I guess my takeaway, Tori, I'm big on takeaways. Is those of y'all listening, you got to ask yourselves, okay, when somebody does come at me with something negative, you know what I'm saying? Let's do some self-reflection. The ability to self-assess is key.
Yeah, and that's something that...
There's been times in this podcast. And the guest done said something, she's like, you hurt my feelings.
Well, and I really have learned so much already so far through this. And that was something that my mom and I were talking about. She's a teacher as well. And
when are we going to have her on the podcast?
Soon,
Okay.
I'm hoping.
January.
Yeah. But one thing that she and I talked about, especially as there's been so much conversation about race this year, she's a white woman who married a Hispanic man, a very dark Hispanic man, and has, a Hispanic child, a mixed child. And she, I think, is very accepting and loving of all people. But she has had a few times where a student has said, "You racist."
Right.
And she has said and responded with, "There are racist teachers out there, but I am not one of them." And I told her, I said, "Lisa, I agree with you, but..."
You called her Lisa, her first name?
Yes, I do.
She threw me off there. I'm like, she was talking about my mom, right?
Yes. Well, when we have these moments,
Okay,
like,
Come on now, Lisa.
yeah,
It's those moments,
Right.
okay.
And I said, "Lisa, you need to think about this because you must have done something to make that child feel that way. So I need you to reflect on that and really think about that, because although I don't think that you know, completely are, I think we do have those implicit biases and you need to check yourself on those. And so if a child is saying that about you, look at your actions, you know, and sometimes kids say things and they don't know what it means. Right. You know, I tend to, I've had students that have said it to me, I'll be honest, and I always call the parent and we have a discussion about it. And then I've had parents that have, and I've also asked the kids to look up what it means and to really fully know what it means. But then also I have to take the time to think about, why did I make that child feel that way? And so I think as educators, with just with people, as people in general, not just educators, we have to take those moments where people are unhappy with us and self-assess, but also know that that does not define us.
Right.
Like I may have said something wrong. I may have done something wrong. I literally just watched Law & Order SVU, and she had to take a moment and think about that, because she was there was a lawsuit filed against Olivia Benson on this episode for essentially being racist and, you know, racially profiling this person that she had arrested. And she really had to think about her own biases. And I think that that's something that we have to do in general.
And that's a quality of a good teacher. What you're hitting on is growth mindset. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have read the book Carol Dweck. You have to. And teachers, we are guilty of this because, you know, you've been at your craft. You're like, I got this. You know, I don't even have to think about it. It's like automatic. It's my default. And then something will kind of shake you up. You're like, hold up. Somebody said what? Like, I know my content and I know what I'm doing. But you really, when you have a growth mindset, you should always be in a perpetual state of, what can I learn from this? Right. What is next? Right. What is it? Yes, it could be that person came at you unfairly, but there's still something that you need to think about that you can do better, because life is not stagnant.
Right.
Amen.
It's constantly moving. It's constantly changing.
So tell us about that. Tell us about, Tori, I like to ask this question because I was that student. Like, tell us about that one kid.
Wait, before we even get there, I don't know her story. I know you know her story.
Okay,
but they don't know her story, and I don't know her story. And I've been sitting here for a while going, okay, we're having some great conversation, but I want to know what
we still have to peel back some more layers.
Yes, we fast forwarded so much.
So what made you go into education?
What made me go into education?
Because we believe this is not just a career and occupation.
Yeah, you have to be called, and you have to be a little crazy as well.
Just a little bit.
Yes, I used to tell my students that, that I had to have papers on me. All of us have to have papers, you know, because you got to be a little crazy to deal with and they're like, and I never cleared it up. I just left it right there. But I was actually a pre-med major. I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Okay, so still wanted to work with kids, though.
Yes, that's interesting that you would say that. I was just sharing that with Ryan upstairs, that I wanted to be a pediatrician, went to Oakwood, I was a pre-med major, and by my last year, I was exhausted. And I don't know if you know any pre-med majors, but you not only take your class, but you take like a lab class with it. So if you're signed up for 5 science classes, you really have 10. Oof. All right, in addition to just life. And so mentally, I just wasn't ready to study for the MCAT and jump right into to med school. And at the time I was married, and I was like, he has a program here that he's doing. There was not a medical school there. So I said, you know what can I do to still stay immersed in science, yet, you know, I'm not wasting my time. And so ultimately I thought about respiratory therapy, physical therapy. And then finally I talked to one of my good girlfriends. Her mom is like a mom to me. She's a teacher. Her mom's a teacher. She says, Rachel, why did you want to be a doctor? And I said, well, I want to help young people. She says, well, have you ever thought about teaching? I was like, wow, I never thought about that. And so after I got off the phone, I started to reflect. And I remembered my college teacher, Dr. Blake. He would ask, who wants to explain something? You know, who wants to explain this problem? I was like, oh, yeah, I want to explain it, because I think understanding is a wonderful thing. So I would go up and explain. Not that I was a math guru or anything. I just got it, and I wanted everybody else to get it. And after I was done, he looked at me. He says, you should think about teaching. So that thought came back to my mind. So ultimately, Alabama A&M had a 5th-year program.
Just sliding it in there a couple of times for you, isn't he?
Yep, just like, you might want to pay attention to this. And they had a 5th-year program, which allowed me to get a master's degree in education with an emphasis in biology. Okay. While I did that, I worked for a pediatrician because I still had to honor that part of me that loved the study of the human body and all that. And what I realized was I was like, this is a little rehearsed. Like, it just was kind of mundane for me. And so I said, you know what? I'm really leaning towards this education piece. And I finished my degree in 2 years and started teaching.
Wow.
And I haven't, people always ask me, well, do you ever regret it? No, because I have options. Like if I still 10 years in wanted to go to medical school, I would have done that. But I mean, the impact, like to be able to look back, I was teaching when I was 24. So I have students that are in their 30s, they're 36, 37. So I've been invited to baby showers and graduations and weddings. And
it's the best feeling.
Yeah, it's the best feeling. It's rewarding. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how I got into teaching. Okay. I knew it was my passion, and it's something that, like you said, I didn't learn it at school. Yeah. Like it was really something that just came natural for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about that moment when you realized like, okay, this is what I signed up for. You know what I'm saying?
I would say my first year teaching, I was in a middle school that was surrounded by 3 projects.
Okay.
3 projects.
Yep.
Okay.
And these kids had some serious needs, and I had a big heart. So, I mean, I just started, to me, it's about relationships. Relationships over everything. Amen. Teaching is my ministry. That's something that I'm not doing just because, that's what the textbook said.
Science is the bonus.
Yeah, science is the bonus. I'm going to slide some other stuff in there, And so I had students like from my mother been prostituting me to I don't have a place to sleep tonight because my mother kicked me out. We're talking about middle schoolers. And so I just took a lot of them under my wings. I exposed them. We would go on trips. I would take them to plays. A couple of them I would take to church if their parents were okay with it. I just really poured myself into what I was doing. And it was so humbling because I realized it was so much bigger than me.
Yeah.
Right.
It was about what is it that God is going to use me for to change their lives. And so that's when, to answer your question, I was like, oh, okay, let me put my seatbelt on.
Right.
Because this is going to be a bumpy road.
Let me put my social work hat on.
It's going to be a bumpy road. Right. And my first year, I was like assistant girls basketball coach. Oof. And then I was I thought I had to take all these papers home every day. And nobody had really sat down with me.
Talk about that real quick.
Let me pause. Talk about that part.
Right.
Yes, because I know we have some first and second year teachers that are listening out there. And I was just talking to my mentee about that the other day.
Yes.
So go there real quick.
I was
Sorry
taking,
to interrupt on that.
I was taking all these papers home. I had my nice little new leather bag that, I got for Christmas. I was just like, yes, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, I feel like I'm making this harder than what it is. Yes. Right. I'm looking at other teachers going to their cars after school. They don't look nearly as encumbered or stressed. Yeah. And then finally I stopped one of them and I spoke to her. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Because I don't see you take anything home. She was like, baby. She said, you don't have to grade everything.
No.
She says, everything does not have to be graded.
You tell them it's for a grade.
Yeah, or, this is, put it in your binder. It'll be part of your binder grade, whatever the case may be. But pick and choose what is important to grade. Yes. Even when I am grading a piece of paper, every single question may not be my focus, especially if it's like a level 1 most basic question. Yes. I'm looking at the higher level, thinking out of the box, let's see, do you really get it?
Yes.
And so that just kind of changed up. So that following year, I went to a high school.
Yeah.
And, I had figured out the whole grading thing.
Yeah.
But that high school, I was there for 8 years, and that was another rough school. It wasn't in the middle of the projects, but the kids were definitely challenging. Yeah. But with that, at the end of the day, I said, if they know that you care.
Yeah.
That's it.
They'll sit down. What is that quote?
Kids don't care how much you know.
Yeah, they don't care how much you know. They just want to know that you care.
That's it.
And so once I started connecting with them, they wanted to learn. And at the end of the day, if I'm doing something for 8 hours, I want to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Straight up.
So
say that again, because there's so many teachers going to school
for 8 hours,
yeah,
I'm going to have fun doing it. They're like, Ms. Rogers, where'd you get all this energy from? Now, first of all, I didn't look like this when I first woke up this morning. But by the time I got up, I'm
first period, I'm still a little
but I'm
loving the crusties out of my eye.
But I get energy from my students. I'm an extrovert.
Yeah.
So I get energy from them, especially if they're excited, or I can even get them excited about something. So with science, they're always like, oh, science. No, we hands-on. We in the lab. We doing stuff. Yeah. I mean, blowing stuff up if I can. But I just felt like I needed to pour myself into what I was doing because I wanted them to get as much out of it as I was getting out of it.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Math and science, I was always horrible at. Whenever she talks about the Pythagorean theory, I'd be breaking out into the hives. You know what I'm saying?
Hates the Pythagorean theory.
In science, don't know which one it was, but when we dissected that frog,
biology.
Let me tell you something.
That got your attention.
I felt like I had gifted hands. Like I was the 96 Ben Carson.
The dead frog.
Not the 2015 or 20 Ben Carson. The old one.
The old one.
I was dissecting that frog and was like, oh, okay, I got something going on here.
No. Right, but let me give hope to people. I hated science in high school, actually.
Wow. I hated math.
Look at that. I hated science. Them both to this day. No, I always thought the dissections. I always thought the dissections were cool.
Right.
But it was just like, those old videos, I still remember them. It was just so monotonous and it was so dry.
Yeah.
But I thought the study of the human body was absolutely fascinating. And I'm like, I have to get over this. So in school, I was not a straight A student, A's, B's, C's, and I really didn't study.
Yep.
And I would have benefited from something like AVID. Yeah. You know, my parents were not from this country. I'm of Haitian descent. And so my mom just wanted me to be successful, but she didn't necessarily have all the tools to show me how to get there here in America. And so I did all right. So I had to bust my butt once I got into college to get to the point where I was proficient in science.
Can we go there real quick?
Let's go there.
I want to talk about what you just said about your mom not knowing how to help you be successful here in America. Because let's be honest, not everyone schools the same way that we school here in America.
That's right. That's right.
And so what were some of the experiences that you had to go through, and would you like for teachers to know if they have students that maybe aren't performing like they think they could, and because we need to look into our students' background.
Yes.
But even sometimes knowing that, you don't realize unless you have been around those people that that's not how they were taught how to school. You know what I mean? Like kids from Guatemala, they stop going to school generally in the 4th grade unless they're going to a private school.
Right.
And so, I have middle schoolers coming in and I'm having to teach my kids how to school.
Right.
How, literally, how do you walk down the hallway? How do you take notes? So what was that experience like for you?
For me, I was just always the go-between. Like anything that I got from school, my mother, she could speak English, she could read English, she was working, we lived in New York, moved to Miami, so she was very much so out in the world doing what she needed to do. However, when it came to schooling, any paper that I brought home, I was the one that was kind of looking through it and had to summarize, this is exactly what this is asking. And here's the other thing that parents deal with. Sometimes they may not be trusting of the system. Like, what is it that they're asking of me to do? What are you asking me to sign? Because I don't know anything about this. Right. This isn't how things work.
I drop them off. You do what you do.
Right. And so it was just a lot of explaining, a lot of just trying to make her understand and trust what I'm saying. I signed a lot of my own. It was in her signature. I had her signature down pat. And sometimes she would tell me. She was like, Rachel, you go ahead and sign it. And I would sign it. But it was like I just knew that I wasn't going to her for Mom, I need a tutor, or Mom, I need help with this. Right. Mom had to work. She was a single mother of 5. So even at that young age, we just all knew, let Mom do Mom.
Yeah.
And we're going to do us. Just don't fail.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, and yes, she wanted me to be successful. When she found out I wanted to be a doctor, she was so excited. She was behind me 100%. But when I say the no skills, we weren't talking about necessarily, okay, Rachel, which colleges do you want to attend? Right. Or do you want to do a trade school? Right. Do you want to do a 2-year college? Yeah. That language she just didn't have. Yeah. And so it was literally me. I remember back then, financial aid forms, I tell my students now, y'all can go online. Back then, it was a piece of paper.
Yes, it's so hard.
And your parents' income tax. So just imagine me at 17 looking at my mother's income tax forms, trying to figure out, okay, that goes there, that goes there, put it in an envelope. Okay, let's pray on that.
So let's talk to teachers today that have students like that, because I went to a school in Arizona where 99% was like Hispanic, like, you know what I'm saying? And 40% of the kids would rather work in the fields, you know what I'm saying, than they would be in school. They like, I don't really care about the school thing. Like, I could just keep working out here like my parents do.
Right.
And then their parents don't speak English, and the staff is like, oh my God, like what word of encouragement would you give to teachers that have students?
Because I do, and I
like
have Hispanic students in my AVID class, and it's beautiful because I learned so much from them. And what has happened is when I would call the parents, you know, I knew a little Spanish because I grew up in Miami. However, if I noticed that their parents are fluent in Spanish and very little English, I would reach out to the Spanish teachers. So I would send them an email. Here's a student.
That's so
good.
Here's
what's going on. Can you help me? What's your availability? But I would try to make it easy so that that teacher doesn't have to take so much of their time. But here's a basic outline of what I'm dealing with. Here's what I need you to communicate. Can you do that and get back with me? That has worked flawlessly. Because what starts to happen here's what starts to happen to our children also from other countries. They start to feel like the parent.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I got from you, filling out the FAFSA and stuff.
Because they're making some big girl decisions. You know,
they're also taking care of younger siblings.
They're taking care of younger siblings. They could be working. I have students who, you know, when they get off work, they go work at the family business or they go work with their dad on the weekend. So there's a lot of moving.
I have middle schoolers that do that.
Wow. A lot of moving parts because work ethic, that's really huge in other countries as well. It's like you got to work because we got to eat because we got to, you know, this is what our family does. And so the biggie is exposing them and seeing like, what are you passionate about? What is it that you're interested in? And you could actually thrive and still help your family in this particular field. So there's a whole different dynamic. But I would say my advice to those individuals, those teachers, reach out to Spanish-speaking teachers in your school and see how they can help with bridging that gap.
Also, I know that in the district that I work in, we have the availability of translators. Like there's a company that we use.
Okay.
And they, like we can do it over the phone. We can do it over Zoom with them even. And so I have just learned to go to my counselor now and ask my counselor for that. And I don't know what that's like for other people, but I had the same issue. The first school that I taught at was high Hispanic population. And yes, I know I should be speaking the language because it is my culture, but I'm not fluent. You know, I'm third generation.
Gotcha.
And by the time you hit third generation, generally the language is gone.
Right.
And so I know enough, and I would make phone calls every now and then and be able to give the parents a brief update. And sometimes I would call mom beforehand and ask mom exactly what I needed to say because mom's a Spanish teacher. And, you know, it is hard, and it is something, I think, when I went through the ESOL program, that was something that I learned, was to learn the background of your kids. And I think that that's just with any child.
Absolutely.
Right.
No matter what, like, even if they're not ESOL students, learn what they're going through. Learn about their background.
Right.
So tell me this here. Tell me about that one student that like just either got on your last nerves, made you second guess getting into education, captured your heart, drove you crazy. Like, tell us about that.
I've had a few.
Right, I can imagine.
But there's one that sticks out in my mind. And I remember I was at that same school. This was the high school. I don't know, this was probably maybe my 5th or 6th year at the high school. His name was Gerald. I'm going to call him out. He'll be all right. Gerald Onaha. Gerald was one of those kids. I had him as a freshman. And everybody knows when you teach freshmen, you know, they're just coming in from middle school. They're all over the place. What I did like about them in my early years was, notice I said in my early years, you got more patience.
Right.
They're moldable, you know. They're so open to like, oh wow, this is high school. Oh, what do we need to know?
Scared.
Kind of thing. Yeah, they're scared, so they tend to be a little bit more open if they see they can trust you. And so he was just literally bouncing off the walls. Like I could tell he was intelligent, But like if there was always a flurry of activities going on around him. And I'm like, Gerald, dude, what are you doing? I'm sorry. And he had this high pitched voice. Like he literally, almost like a Steve Urkel, sorry, Gerald, love you. But like, almost seemed like a nerd, but like the kids loved to laugh at him. And he loved the attention that he garnered from the kids. And I'm like, this is my show, okay? And so I remember one day, like I've never, in 25 years, I've only had one fight in my classroom.
Oh,
all right?
That's a blessing.
Yes. And so I usually try to get in front of it, but this one caught me off guard. And it was pretty much a situation where I'm taking attendance, I'm calling out names, and this one student had come to my desk for something. So I call out the student's name, and I was like, has anybody seen such and such? And the girl next to me said, oh, she's skipping. And so the girl sitting down, she was like, why are you snitching? Like, you're such a snitch. And she was like, she is. She should come to class kind of thing. Oof. And then so I'm still, they chill out and I'm taking attendance. She's just waiting for me. And then apparently, the one sitting was still irritated. She was like, why don't you just be quiet? And then so the girl who was standing next to me quickly went and stood in front of her desk. And so by that time, that's my cue. Yeah. Before I could get over there was a swing and they were fighting. And I was like, oh my goodness. So Gerald, let's go back to Gerald because he's in this story.
Okay.
And so there was a basketball on the floor. I don't know who brought it, one of my basketball players. And one of the girls picks up the basketball to throw it in another one. Gerald gets up, she's throwing a basketball. I'm like, Gerald, go get help. So Gerald runs. I had to go put him to work. Gerald goes and runs and gets help. And comes back, security comes, settles things down. But Gerald is the one that if there's already a lot going on, he's going to add to it. Long of short, I was like, I've got to have a parent conference with Gerald's parents because he's trying to take over my classroom. Right. And mom came in. And any teacher knows this. You know this feeling of when you're having a conversation with a parent or parents and they've heard this before. And you feel bad that you're the bearer of that news again. And I'm like, Gerald, he's really like, he has such leadership qualities. Right. That's another thing. New teachers, you always start off with something good. And I wasn't lying. I said, he has such leadership qualities. If he could just take that and just hone them in the right direction, he could really go. And she's nodding her head like, yes, I've heard that before. Fast forward. I made it through the year with Gerald. He still was all over the place. But Gerald, he was in the band. And so he became a leader in the band. By his senior year, he started a fraternity at the high school. Oh, wow. If there was a party, Gerald was there, and Gerald was throwing the party. Gerald was Mr. It. Gerald went to Tennessee State. Come on. He was a pre-med major. Wow. He became a Kappa. Wow. He was big time with that. Wow. Then he went to Meharry Medical School. Wow. And I
just got the chills.
Yes.
I got to admit, I just got him.
He went to Meharry Medical School. Wow. And got his medical degree, did his residency. I think he got his medical degree in 2016. Sorry if I'm quoting that wrong, Gerald.
Gerald's so doggone proud of you, boy.
Yes, and he's an internist now. Wow. And he also has an organization called the Dream Academy to encourage children of color to be interested in health sciences in the health field. So when I tell you, when I see my students, I see Gerald.
Somebody get Tori some tissue.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
When I see Gerald, I see my students.
Yes.
Because here is the mistake we make as teachers.
Talk about it.
You can't live in the present all the time. You have to see beyond that. You have to see the potential. That's that whole faith piece.
My next T-shirt is for teachers. Teach by faith and not by sight.
Listen,
I got you.
That's facts right there. Yeah. That's facts. You have to teach by faith. You have to see the potential in them when they don't see it in them. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to do for Gerald. I knew he had the potential, so I never, even though he was driving me bananas, to this day, I don't even know if he knew how crazy he really did drive me. Because I didn't want to feed it. I didn't want him to think that he was being successful. Right. However, every student I see is one of my Geralds. So that's why I take it personally. I don't care if they're a student at your school, a student at my school. They're all our kids. Yeah. And they all have that potential.
So to our listeners and viewers that's watching this on YouTube, like, this is why we preach what we preach, right? We teach by faith and not by sight. You got to see the absolute best in these kids.
That's right.
And the challenge that most educators have is delayed gratification.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And they don't always get the story that you have.
That's right.
So for you teachers that's been teaching for 5, 10, 20 plus years, it's been some students that got on your last nerves, that really irritated you, frustrated you. You might even have a couple gray hairs that came prematurely, right? But you didn't know that because you stayed steadfast, you were unmovable, you loved them, you affirmed, you spoke life, you saw the best in them. Now, they're accomplishing some great things, and you might not have gotten that update. So we love hearing stories
That's right.
like that.
And that's what I love about Facebook, because a lot of my students, my former students, I tell them, once you graduate from high school, I will accept your friend request. But yeah, you never know what doors have been open for them. And you just have to, here's my petition to teachers. If you haven't had that moment, then that's time to check yourself. And when I say check yourself, do some soul searching and see, are you nurturing students, your content, or are you nurturing students?
Yikes.
Yep.
Yikes.
For me, it's students first, content second.
Yes.
Yeah, because you got to reach them before
Science
you teach
is just a vehicle that I'm using to nurture them. But you nurture those kids. And it's even in secondary education, we're guilty of that. In elementary, they're like, okay, even high school teachers, oh, that's for elementary. That's those teachers. Now, I got my English, I got my science, they're in love with the subject, but you're losing your kids.
Wow.
Well, and honestly, there are so many times, even as an educator myself, that I'm like, but what if my students don't get the content? But are they really going to remember it next year? Let's be honest. Half the time, they don't even remember it.
I don't remember anything.
And so does it matter, though? So you hate the Pythagorean theorem, but you remember those teachers.
Yes, absolutely.
That pushed you into what God had planned for you.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Kids don't remember. They don't remember what you taught all the time, but they remember how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But let me speak. The scientist in me does have to speak to the left side of your brain, which is what schooling does is teach you how to think critically and problem solve, which you use in any walk of life.
Yes.
So whether that question of why go to college or why continue to educate yourself, because it does, you create more impressions in your brain.
Yes.
That allow you to go deeper and stronger and harder.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. All right, so this has been a lot. I got 2 quick questions for you, and then Tori's going to wrap it up.
So, sure, no problem.
What advice would you give to a teacher maybe in their first, second, third, fourth year of teaching? What's that one piece of advice you would give them?
Okay, the very first thing I would say is you have to know your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is your philosophy on education? Because if you know your why, you test everything against that. So it's about the intrinsic motivation, not the extrinsic motivation.
Right.
Because things are going to go on around you all the time that are going to shake
COVID.
you to your core. Right. Yes, exactly.
Like COVID.
However, if your why is what drives you, then you can push through those difficult times. Does it mean everything's going to be perfect? No. And that's the other thing. When we try to seek for perfection, what does that exactly look like in the realm of education and when you're teaching? You're constantly evolving. Right. So the step one is know your why. Once you know your why, that's your launching pad for everything else.
I love it. I love it. And my last question is, if you could change one thing about the educational, I heard that sigh. If you could change one thing,
dude,
right?
How much time we got?
If Biden and Kamala was like, "Hey, Jeremy, come on up here, man, and help us out," and you had a seat at the table.
You working on that, by the way?
Yeah.
You working on? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Listen.
Oh, I almost just said something that
we'd have to give us 2 or 3 real quick. That's okay.
It's just heavy.
I know.
The system. The word I think of is value. Okay. All right. The first thing is you have to value education and your teachers. Because we already know that there's this connotation of, I'm a teacher, so I don't get paid much. Like that shouldn't even be. I remember when I was in graduate school, my professor was like, he wrote down 3 things. He wrote like football player, doctor, teacher. And he was like, what do football players do? They entertain us. They play sports. Doctors save lives. Teachers teach the world. Teachers teach doctors and football players. And then he put the amount of money each one makes. And so I think we say we value education.
But do we?
But do we really? And do we put our money where our mouths is? And that seems like, of course she would say money, but value is everything. Because once you value the system, you value the teachers, you need to value the children. Are we warehousing kids? Are we just pushing them through?
Yes.
So I would think there would need to be a change in this whole system of how we're doing these standardized testing and using the testing to determine, you know, whether you're good enough, whether do you know how many, can I just talk to y'all for a second?
Go.
Because when I tell y'all, I have these conversations with my students on a regular,
straight up.
Yes.
trying to get them to understand it's not about the grade. Pause. Yes, they're looking at the grades for the scholarships and for this and that, but we got kids checking off boxes.
Yes.
Especially during this virtual learning time, and they're not learning anything.
No.
So we're dealing with a generation. The millennials are getting older now, but Gen Z, they see learning as a means to an end. Like they're like, okay, what do I need? Okay, let me get what I need to get. We need to get to the point where these kids, we're setting up a school system where they're looking forward to going in because they have actually been able to see, wait a minute, I see the relevance.
Yes.
I see how this can impact my life with what I want to do. I think we've been doing what we've always been doing because that's what we've always known.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
And is that logical? No, it's not logical for us to just continue because we just talked about how everything's evolving. The way that we teach, let's be honest, the way that we teach is evolving, right?
That's
I just spent half the day today taking all of the things that I would normally do on paper pencil and finding ways to make them fun and engaging for kids to do on the computer because that's how they're doing it. Things are evolving.
Things are evolving.
But as an education system, we're not. We're staying stagnant. And no wonder our test scores are staying stagnant. No wonder our morale is not even staying stagnant, but declining.
Right. And then we're wondering why the teachers, we have so many conversations about why are the students not faring well? Why do we have so many kids that are failing? Why do we, and we have these conversations, but we can't have it on this level. It is a systemic change that has to take place, or else teachers feel like we're constantly knocking our heads up against the wall, and we're feeling like, well, we need the parents to do this, and we need the kids to do that. Now the parents are on virtual learning, like, I might as well get a teaching degree because I'm teaching, my butt off, and teachers are like, well, y'all should have been supporting your kids. This is what we needed. But the ones that we need to show up are the kids.
You babysitting. You ain't teaching.
But we've got to change the way we do some things.
Yes.
The way school looks.
I agree. I agree that it's not just one thing, but it is. It's when you ask that question, it's the system.
And it's always. I love hearing how every guest has something different. And we've never had anybody say, I don't know. It's always a ton of things, right? And so again, to our listeners and our viewers, here's your takeaway. There are things that we can't control. I wish we could rewrite some legislation laws. We can't. But if you learn one thing from today, it's that connection. It's making it relevant. It's making sure you have fun with your kids. It's really understanding what's your why. You know what I'm saying? That you got into education.
Definitely.
It's really building that relationship with those students. And then, remember, their destiny. Math is the vehicle to get them to their destiny, right? Science is the vehicle to get them to their destiny. English, world literature is the vehicle to get them to their destiny, right? And so we're working on character. We're working on morals. We're working on us raising a generation of positive and high quality citizens that are going to add value to our country and to the world. And so, that's rich.
That's
you got
beautiful.
the juice. And you coming back for more.
And that was beautiful, Jay. That was.
I receive it. Appreciate it.
I'm here for it. That was good. Two times.
And I'm coming to your class, too.
Hey, let's do it.
My phone.
Listen, they're ready for you.
Come on. We go back 20 plus years. I want to pull up.
That's right.
I want to speak to your kids.
Okay. We're going to make that happen.
I
have seniors this year waiting for you.
Oh, let me tell you something. I'm waiting for them. You want me to hit it virtual or you want me to show up?
Listen.
Man, you get with Ron. It's done.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
You ready for this? Let me put my 60-second timer.
This is my favorite.
Here we go. No pressure.
Let me get some stretch.
She got the juice, though. I hope you got some good ones. You got 60 seconds.
Okay.
All right.
Rapid fire.
Ready? Tell me when.
Hold on. Everybody calm down.
Jay's struggling.
Here we go. I'm ready. Let's go.
He said everybody calm down.
Boom.
All right. What does a person need to be happy?
Love themselves.
There we go.
That's beautiful. What's your favorite car?
Range Rover Pearl.
Come on with it.
Oh. Have you ever slapped someone in the face?
Tell the truth.
Playfully.
I love it.
If you were really hungry, would you eat a bug?
Yeah, that's protein.
Yeah, you would survive
That's
on
protein. That's protein, baby.
How long does it take for you to get ready in the morning?
30 minutes for school, 45 elsewhere.
Okay. All right. What is the best age?
The age that you are.
Oh, fill in the blank. Beyonce is?
Bad.
All right. Texting or talking?
Talking.
Favorite day of the week?
Saturday.
Best gift you have ever received?
Gentlemen,
Ma'am.
This has been another episode of Next Level Teaching, man. Rachel, you're so dope.
That
Thank
was
you
amazing.
for hanging out
Thank
with
you
us.
so much.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. And thank you guys.
She coming back. She
For real.
coming back.
Get ready for it.
Y'all better leave a review.
A good one.
If you ain't got nothing good to say, don't just keep it to yourself then. But really, Rachel, thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
Thank you for your energy, your spirit, your ministry, answering the call that was on your life. And we're going to keep building.
Yeah.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
And thank you guys for tuning in again.
Yes.
We hope to see you next time. Bye.
Peace.
Holla.